der zentralen Position. Nur Schwanzer hat er Vorsicht. Dann ist es Fernhoff. Er ist im Strafraum. Tor! Tor! Für die Frankfurter Eintracht. 5:1. Herrje!
Hi and welcome to the German Fußball podcast. Round 6 has been concluded. Plenty of games, players, and situations to analyze. And as always, I am joined by Dad, Jan Fjørtoft. Pleasure to have you here as always, Dad. Before we proceed into kind of our insights and analysis, tell me about your weekend.
Well, you will listen to my voice and understand as I was outdoor. But it was a great weekend. I went to the middle of Norway, not the middle of nowhere, but the middle of Norway, a place called Gravika in North Trøndelag, in the middle of Norway, and I had a soccer school. And we also played a game. I love to do those games at the end. Or do I love them? I'm not sure anymore. But I had a game at the end. Got a goal with my buddy who can't run and can't move. And got a penalty. We won the penalty shootout. But it's a soccer school for kids between 5 and 12, free as it comes. So it's important to do those kind of activities for me. And it's also an important signal, I think, because football is getting more and more expensive for kids. So I love doing these kind of arrangements. But meaning that I was a bit cold when I came home yesterday. So, but it was an interesting weekend, Markus, as we do. I follow all the results around German, English, Rapid Vienna, all the leagues around, and you went to Swindon again, County Ground. I saw a great photo that we put on Twitter for you, and Swindon winning again.
Swindon winning again. They are still unbeaten. It's 9 games now. They're still unbeaten. So it's fun when you follow a team that when there is a bit of buzz, a bit of optimism into a side. And as always, I enjoy, you know what I enjoy? I enjoy, there's a difference between watching a game and watching a game, if you understand what I'm saying. Because usually when I'm at home or wherever we are, we watch a bit more, you know, we relax a bit more, but actually analyzing, sitting down and how does this work is something I enjoy doing. So it was nice to be back at the birthplace. And every time, in case I miss you, Dad, I can always go to the murals and see your painting, so to speak. But going to Germany, Dad, we did have a top of the table clash, a RB Leipzig team that are undefeated against Bayern in the last 4 outings, won the last 2 against Bayern, and what a game we got, Dad.
Yeah, I rushed home from the soccer school, and I was lying cold, but the game get me heating. It warmed me the way they played, because first of all, I've said that before, it's nothing that one philosophy or one system is better than others. But what I like about RB Leipzig, there is this intensity in their game. There is the going forward. They're very energy in there. So they're 2-0 up, but you always know when you're 2-0 up against Bayern Munich, that is just half the way to the target. It need also to be said that the second goal was a bit not right, because they shouldn't have a corner. And Sven Ulreich wouldn't have done a big mistake then. A lot of people have asked me how far away is Manuel Neuer coming back. The latest from Christoph Freund, who is the sporting director, he says is days away from him going into team training, so training with the team. That means that I guess you need 1 or 2 weeks when you go in and train normally. So I get, if I would have put money on something, I would have said that Manuel Neuer will be back after the next international break. I think that is could be the plan, because then you win a couple of weeks or 10 days in terms of that. But yeah, it was a great game. Great goals as well. Penalty, Harry Kane, of course, he scored on that. And Leroy Sané, talking about a great player, fantastic form on him. And that's this small detail, Markus. There was a corner for RB Leipzig. It's 2-1 for them. And then Bayern Munich just have a fantastic counter-attack. And Musiala with the ball. And I always use metaphor for other sports. And I like this way that Musiala he doesn't pass the ball. He just let it go. He's running with it. And then he just exactly the same moment that Leroy Sané is going through. And 1 against 1. I saw some stats before I went on here, Markus, and prepared. he is the only one who has 100% efficient on big chances, Leroy Sané. So you got a feeling when he gets 1-against-1 against the goalkeeper, there's always been a goal, and it was. And 2-2, I think that was fair. RB Leipzig will always think that 2-0 up at home, that's something to hold on to, of course. But Bayern now twice draw against Leverkusen, draw against Leipzig. I think the optimists will say that, well, that means that they show weaknesses. Having said that, you get a feeling with at the end of the season coming, those are the games that both of them should have won. Not to get Bayern 1 point less, but for them get 3 more, because that's going to be decisive at the end of the season. But when you have a look at the Bundesliga table now, Markus, for all of us loving German Bundesliga, it's fantastic, but because there are so many different teams up there competing for the top of the league spot.
Yeah, it's fantastic this season in terms of how tight it is, and some of the new contenders in a Stuttgart there as well. Bayern didn't record a shot that until the 47th minute. And needless to say, Bayern's first half was rather underwhelming. I think Tuchel alluded to the fact that second half was a lot better. Got 11 more shots following that, indicating that they were a lot more dangerous in that last third. But it must be weird for Tuchel, and you said it there in terms of how, depending on the perspective, right? Because Tuchel has criticized kind of the mentality at times. He's said that I need a 6. You see that they were vulnerable, especially in that first half, to Leipzig's offensive kind of dynamite. How do you think Tuchel reads this whole situation? Because it was a tale of two halves. Bayern show undoubtedly what they have, and they did that last week with a 7-0 thrashing of Bochum as well. But it's one of those where you maybe can't get quite the sense of how strong Bayern are at the moment.
Now, I think that one of the main problems for them, first of all, take the positive thing. You're 2-0 down away from home against one of the best teams in the league, and you come back doing 2-2. That shows the mentality is there. Also show the quality in the team, of course. But what is worrying for Tuchel is that they're conceding too many goals. Even in Champions League game, when they beat Manchester United, they conceded 3. They conceded 2 against Leverkusen and done 2 again against Leipzig. And you got to be honest. I mean, Kim, who we all loved him, how he played last season in Napoli, great signing for them. Well, he's not been defending very well. Same with De Ligt. De Ligt has been so not very trusted by Thomas Tuchel, so you got a problem there. The latest thing is now Jerome Boateng, 35, is training with him, and maybe they'll see if he's get a contract. There is some dispute also about his reputation. Remember, he had some kind of half criminal charges when he was at Bayern at the end of his time there, and he left the club on bad terms, really. And the number 6 thing is also a matter for him. But Tuchel, I think, is looking for his best team. Thomas Müller is on the bench more or less all the time. He doesn't get a lot of minutes more at the moment. So Bayern is always like, we know that all this thing about there is always drama in and around Bayern, but that is because that the demands are to win every game. Another team, if Dortmund played Leverkusen at home 2-2, and then they come back from a 2-0 down at Leipzig, everybody will say is a great achievement for them. But Bayern, the parameters are different. The expectations are different. So I mean, as long as we can, let's just enjoy this time being that there are so many teams up there. I mean, the big difference is, of course, that Bayern doesn't get to run away early, because that is not fun. Because now it's quite fun, because if you have 2 or 3 teams who can have a run like Leverkusen's having at the moment, they will be up there. So Bayern, if they lose 2 points, Leverkusen, if we talk about Leverkusen, I had an eye also the game in Mainz, and Mainz not in the best form and all that kind of things. They created chances as well against Leverkusen, but still Leverkusen now got that thing. They're winning 3-0 Mainz, and Mainz desperate to win a game, and they still do it. And that is a mirror or a symbol of a team who are supposed to be up there, because they are winning on some days like this. Boniface, Hoffmann, Grimaldo with another perfect. I mean, did you see the free kick, Marcus?
Yeah,
I mean, the technique. I'm still wondering. I was not a guy who took free kicks. I also come from a very small village, so the reason I say that, I didn't learn that technique because I didn't have coaches learning me that. I'm not sure I would have managed it because I still saw that goal so many times, that free kick. How do they do that? How do they get an angle of the ball over the wall as Grimaldo is doing? This is his second goal though in 2 games, and great free kicks.
Yeah, the technique is constantly evolving, is it? But like you say, it was a 3-0 win and won with a quite clear margin, despite the fact that Mainz actually weren't all too bad and certainly had their chances. Leverkusen top of the league. Another team that is in form, 3 wins on the trot now, unbeaten in the Bundesliga still, only 1 loss in the Bundesliga in all of 2023, Dad. And I'm going to Borussia Dortmund, who, although we are not all too convinced by them, they are now level on points with Bayern. They win 3-1. Nico Füllkrug with his first goal for the club following a costly mistake by the American Brooks. I think he was a bit stitched up. I don't think you should ever throw to someone in the position he was in. We got a Marco Reus, a 3rd successive game in which he scored in the Bundesliga. And then we have our own, very own Julian Ryerson for the 3rd goal, a great solo goal. But yeah, I mean, we're still in that phase of the season, Dad, in which we are still trying to get a sense of teams. But the common tune throughout the start of this season has been, yeah, but Dortmund aren't all too convincing. Emre Can, the captain, has been benched. They need probably some other players. How good is actually that centre-back partnership? Süle is now third choice centre-back. But even still, they're clinging on. And to what extent should we actually credit them for that rather than looking at it the other way?
I think a lot of us are so disappointed at the end of the season last season. They just show that lack of winning DNA that we've talked about so many times. So there's something that Dortmund, it's easy to target them because there is a softness, a weakness to their mental robustness, you know. And also there is a history of Dortmund having a lot of players who more or less have the same kind of mental courage, so to say. So if what I'm meaning is that if things are going bad, it's like 4 or 5 falling out because they're kind of the same type of player. But you have to give it to them. Hoffenheim been brilliant. Hoffenheim have had a great season. You're going to Hoffenheim. That isn't an easy place. Well, none place is easy place to go. And to Hoffenheim being good organized and got themselves a lot of points. Royce then scoring. Then you get a red card. Ben Sebaini get a red card. He's sent off, but it doesn't matter. But then, oh my God, Julian Ryerson. The funny thing about Julian Ryerson is that when I start following the German Bundesliga again, because Erling Haaland went there, first game against Augsburg, so then I took an even more interest. You know what you were saying at the beginning, you follow and you follow because you follow very closely. So I start following Julian Ryerson. I met him when Union Berlin played Dortmund, shy, polite guy, just there. And then out of nothing, I would say, not that it wasn't deserved, but Dortmund brings him in. And from day one in Dortmund, he's been fantastic. He's taking steps in his career. I so respect Julian because he is one of those are role models. Those are role models who take step by step in their career. And Julian has done that, and he's been very significant for Dortmund. And if they have won the Premier League, the Bundesliga last season, I mean, he would be one of the key factors. He was one of the key factors that they were actually going all the way. And the goal, for those who have not seen it, remember Gareth Bale when he took his goal, I guess, was it Barcelona? Was it El Clasico, wasn't it? It doesn't matter. Yeah, a great goal when he used the old pitch. He was running all over. The thing is, when Gareth Bale did it, it was like he looks like a in the jungle. You have these animals. He looked like a guepard. He was so stylish. And here is Julian Ryerson going from his left position, no tricks. He's just going for it. I'm watching on Netflix now. I'm watching this quarterback series, and he reminded me of one of those who takes the ball and running yards for fun. And then they're running back, and then there was a tackle, and he went through, and then suddenly it was open, and the guy chasing him was, because sometimes when you see American football, you're thinking they are just this little second ahead, and then they get a touchdown. And wow, did Julian go for a touchdown at that time? And then when he was running like 100 meters off the pitch. Then was one against the goalkeeper, and it was so calm. He just put it in there. It was in 95th minute, and there was all over. And what a fantastic goal! I must say there was some great goals this weekend as always, but what a goal! It must be up there for one of the best goals of the weekend.
He was compared to Gareth Bale and a tight end in the NFL, so the compliments are wide, varied, but very high in praise for Julian Ryerson. And as you say, a great role model for a lot of players, because wow, someone who's gotten there through talent, yes, but not the most spectacular player, I think we can all agree on, but a fantastic, disciplined and dependable player for Borussia Dortmund, and partly why they signed him. So yeah, Dortmund continue their unbeaten form. In terms of player teams at the very top, that we also have Stuttgart, and despite a goalless game for Gurasai, there was someone else who stepped in, a player with only 16 minutes to his name so far this season in Dennis Undav, the Brighton loan E. They went 2-0 away to struggling Köln now, who are on 1 point. You mentioned Mainz, they would play lost against Leverkusen. They're on 1 point as well. So Stuttgart win there without any moments from the magic triangle, the Dreieck, which we alluded to last week. We have Heidenheim beat Union Berlin through another brilliant Jan-Niklas Beste free kick goal, back-to-back home wins for them. And then you have a Union dad, Berlin, now with 4 losses on the trot in the Bundesliga. You include the Champions League loss against Real Madrid. It's 5 in a row. And it's not one of those where it's not like they're not creating chances, but even still, wow, it's a tough run of form they're in right now.
Absolutely. And that the problem is that when you go into that mood, you things go bad, they go worse. And to make it even more complicated for them, I say that quote complicated, and they play Real Madrid and should have probably had a point if there wasn't a Mr. Bellingham who is always turning up for Real Madrid. So Union should watch out, because you can't go the whole first half of the season, the Hinrunde, and not getting points. So Union, Köln, you were mentioning, Mainz are struggling, but the problem is with Union Berlin, because the 3-4 years has been just upwards. So they have to look after themselves, and that was not a great result for them again. And it's a week before the Champions League, and you can say whatever you want. You can say that the coach would say, "Don't think so much of the Champions League," but you kind of strengthen it. So it's a hard way to find a balance. What you do when you're in the Champions League. Union Berlin is in the Champions League. It's just the thought of it, and maybe some of the players get influenced by that. I mean, that is just human. So, but if I can go to my former club, then Eintracht Frankfurt losing again. Our friend Wind scoring 2 goals. He's up there with a Torjägerkanone. There's some interest if we can take that at the end. Well, I can take it now, Markus. The Torjägerkanone, meaning the top scorer in German football. Number 1, your magic guy, Guirassy from Stuttgart 10. Kane 8, breaking all records for the first games at Bayern. Wind 7. Boniface 6. And then first German, Leroy Sané, got 5. 5, he scored of all his big chances. But for Frankfurt, that was the first loss of the season.
Yeah, correct.
In the Bundesliga, although they have played a lot of draws. I talked to a lot of Frankfurt journalists. I also got a column at Bild site, and we're talking about they're not scoring goals. And I said the key to this game, or key to them now, is to create more for midfield. And the key guy is Mario Götze. And Mario Götze managed them to get a red card. There was a big article today in the German media that he was warned before the game because he's meckern. He's talking too much to the referee, getting frustrated. So Mario Götze got to watch out, because when you have that branding or image, then the referees will be even more in attention for what he's doing. So compliment to Wolfsburg. They played against Niko Kovac, the former Eintracht Frankfurt coach, of course, who won them the Pokal. But that was a bad result for them, and bit worried because Eintracht, they're still away from the relegation zone, but you have to have that ability to win football games, and to win football games you need to win goals. We always knew that it's going to be tight because of Moani leaving nearly the day the Bundesliga starts. So I got a feeling that this Hinrunde, this first half of the season, will be very difficult for Eintracht. So hopefully they will keep the patience, and then in January they have to go in the market and get a good goal scorer.
Indeed, only 4 goals in 6 games for Eintracht, and yes, undefeated. But if you look at the teams that they've drawn against, it does include a Köln, a Mainz, who only have recorded a draw of the first 6 games of the season. So yeah, let's have a little look at. I don't think they'll be too far down the table, but even still, it's worth noting. And then also credit to Wolfsburg, who under Kovac are kind of lurking in the background, should have gotten European football if it weren't the fact that they lost at home in the last game of the season to already relegated Hertha Berlin for Eintracht's kind of favor in many ways, and that's why they can play Conference League because of that. But even still, it's cool to see a Wolfsburg team, a younger Wolfsburg team without too many pronounced profiles, building themselves up, and credit to Niko Kovac for that. In other games, we have Freiburg beat Augsburg 2-0 through Grifo and Lienhardt. And then we have Darmstadt with their first win of the season, 4-2 against Bremen. Last home game, they were 3-0 up against Gladbach, and they got back to 3-3. This time they were 4-0 up, and Bremen got 2 goals back, but it ended 4-2. A first win for Darmstadt, Dad. Without speculating too much, but just looking into it, I did mention the bottom 3, but a likes of a Bremen, a Darmstadt, you have Bochum, Köln, Mainz, Gladbach, who beat Bochum now for their first win of the season. How do you, any trends, anything of immediate thought in terms of those teams in the bottom of the table?
Well, I guess it's the basic rule. It's too early now to see, because if like Frankfurt now, if there are some teams behind them, they will be kind of dragged in there. So it's so important now to get the points. We haven't played many games this season, so it's still early doors, but you see a tendency. The good thing about Darmstadt, when you're in that position, seeing in the Premier League over Luton, winning at Everton, you believe that you can do it. You need that first win, which is very important. That's what Darmstadt is doing now. And then you have the teams who are too good to go down. Ask Leicester about that in the Premier League, and you ask some of the teams in the Zweite Bundesliga, the second Bundesliga now, who went down. Nobody thought they would go down, and they are where they are. So it's too early. I think the big surprise, Union Berlin, not a surprise that they maybe would struggling after being the adventure of German football, that they have Champions League. So this could be a consequence of that. I'm more surprised about Köln, who have a great home team, a great charismatic coach, a very intense way of playing, and they seem to big time struggle. It seems that it's not like it's unfair that they're losing; they're just doing the rounds, so to say. So Mainz as well. I'm a big fan of Bo Svensson. He is a part of that Red Bull school that Marco Rose and a lot of the coaches, Ragnik was the headmaster of them. So that is a bit surprising as well. But it's too early doors, and we'll see. I'm just happy for Darmstadt. I know how great that is to get the first win of the season.
Indeed, it will be interesting now that we get into October, November month, and when the league table is getting set, it tends to kick in the panic for some clubs. And who's to say there aren't some departures if things don't improve over the next 3 to 4 games in which we will see envelop in October. Dad, before we go for our players of the week, do you want to give us a little insight into the Zweite Bundesliga? Because we have a free-falling Schalke, and then we have a Hamburg who are back on winning ways.
Yes, we love our little thing about the Zweite Bundesliga, and I will also, before we go to the player of the week, I will also talk about Max Eberl, who is the big story in German football now. But I guess it's right to put them in the same thing, and we can start with Hertha Berlin losing at home to St. Pauli. And why is that significant? Because St. Pauli is now top of the league. After Hamburger Sportsverein, believe it or not, that's wrong to say, they losing against a small team like Elversberg, but Düsseldorf coming to them top of the league, and then HSV is, of course, winning. Hertha losing to St. Pauli. Why is St. Pauli so significant? Because that is the team of all hipsters. That is you know, these guys on Twitter, Markus. You know, these guys who go to New York and say, no, you don't eat in New York. There's a place outside New York you got to eat. Or
Brooklyn.
Yeah, Brooklyn. And you don't go to London. You don't go in the middle of London. There is a place outside. You go right to Reading. There is a great Italian. You got to eat. And this is the
I'm right up Reading. That's far. That's far. That's far.
That was nearly Swindon. That was. But St. Pauli. I'm just joking. But St. Pauli is the club everybody loves to love, so to say. Not love to hate, love to love, because it's a very particular club who has been doing fantastic thing in German football for being an alternative, a non-commercial kind of image of the club. Then we have Schalke, who fired their coach, Ryerson. We talked about that. We made a special audition or a special video in the middle of last week. And they lost to Paderborn. They are now the 16th position, meaning they could be in a relegation on the third league in the Bundesliga, the Zweite Bundesliga. So that is bad news. But if I may, Markus, before we take the player of the week, I will talk about Max Eberl. Max Eberl, we have the big game on Saturday between RB Leipzig and Bayern. That is a big game. Is Red Bull against Bayern? It's Leipzig against Munich. It's the mighty winning Bayern against Leipzig, the challenger. And then 25 hours before the game, Max Eberl gets fired. He's the head of sport, very big profile, used to play for Bayern, which is important of this story as well. There's been rumors that he would go to Bayern, that he should be their head of sport. In many times where they tried to get a head of sport, he was a candidate, but he was a Gladbach, remember? Then he went to Leipzig, and so on and so on. And then in the middle of the week, there was a big headline in Sportbild. Sportbild is published on Wednesdays. They're saying that, of course, they know the business, Christian and Toby, our friends. Headline was, front page was, Max Eberl to Bayern is still hot. So this is 3 days before the big game. Apparently, then RB Leipzig wanted him to say this is nothing to do with me and blah 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 blah. But his communication, and you say it best when you say nothing at all, kind of metaphor as well, is a good description of it. And RB Leipzig, who have a very powerful, a great football coach, who is now one of the leaders in the big Red Bull system, Oliver Mitzlaff, they don't take prisoners. They just fired him and then made a statement saying it's a lack of commitment to the club, which is, wow, that is a description of someone's job. And there is a big chance now that they will go to Bayern, and you may ask, don't they have a sporting director? But yes, they do, and they also have a guy who's taking transfers, a manager of transfer, Neppe, sport director Freund. But I think the idea is that if Max Eberl comes to Bayern, he's going to be the head of sport. So he's responsible for everything. Christoph Freund is then more in the terms of the team and the academy. Remember Christoph Freund doing a fantastic job in Salzburg, getting great talents, good players in, selling them as great players. But I think that this could be a bit problem, the definition of roles, even at Bayern, because there are so many people around. What are they going to do with Neppe then, who is doing the practical stuff in terms of transfers? What about Karl-Heinz Rummenigge? What about Uli Hoeneß? What about? So I think everybody who loves the German Bundesliga, everybody who likes the intrigues and the soap operas, they will have a lot of things to look forward to in the next coming months.
Yeah, just as they had disbanded the transfer committee and to make it leaner, I guess, in terms of decision making, and Tuchel taking a larger role, it was Max Eberl. And Dad, just a quick one on that. There's been so much rumors about him. What is it that makes him so desired for Bayern Munich? Obviously, he took a break from Gladbach and then he went to Leipzig. And now Bayern have been so keen on having him ever since he practically committed to RB Leipzig. Well,
first of all, he played at Bayern. I mean, that is always a compliment for for someone who tried to get a job at Bayern. But I don't remember if you remember when we went to this thing in Berlin that times we went to this show. Remember who we went out with? And we had a lunch with. That was Max Eberl. You don't remember that?
Oh, really?
So yeah,
a long while ago in Berlin was ahead of the cup final.
Yes, it was.
Yeah.
And we went out the day before. There was a Player of the Year award, was there? Or something like that. I'm not sure why we were there, but we were there. Went to the cup final, the two of us, and we met Max Eberl. And he's a very likable guy. Did a fantastic job at Gladbach. He was very open about his mental troubles, meaning mental troubles in terms that he was very, very tired. He was leer. He was empty, and he said that he was very open about it. Very respected for doing that. I think I always like Max Eberl, but this is a difficult thing when you can't serve two masters. Isn't that a saying from whatever books there are around? And if you are the RB Leipzig head of sport, you either must say that I want to go, or you say I don't want to go. So there is nothing in between. You can't be half pregnant, and you use all the quotes what you can't say. So you can understand RB Leipzig doing what they're doing if your head of sport got his minds somewhere else. So it's interesting, but I like Max Eberl. I always have. Like I said, his openness about his struggle, being so tired that he took times out, came back, and all that stuff. So this story will go on, and you can understand that, but I mean, it's a bit peculiar that these stories come up just before the top game. Peculiar in terms of we know why, because this going to make headlines. Remember that the Bayern also got Julian Nagelsmann. Having said that, RB Leipzig could have said no if they wanted that. But what they say is that you shouldn't keep a guy who has packed his luggage. You should let him go. And Julian Nagelsmann was that. They got Sabitzer and they got Leimer now on a free transfer who is there. So they've got a history of that. So I think this is a signal from Leipzig. I think this is a confident move by them to show we don't care, we are here. We lost many players. Remember, they sold a lot of players, still managed to have a very competitive team. So it's typical German, I would say.
Yeah, it is interesting. And we have talked about that before, but how much more central head of sporting directors are in the overall media cyclist. We know so much more, and I'm sure for English listeners who also, or for non-English listeners for that matter too, but who follow the Premier League, a lot more behind the scenes, a lot more elusive, but interesting. And we'll follow that intently. And there is a little short video that Dad did, a 1 minute summary for those who aren't bothered to listen to the entire saga. But Dad, to conclude the episode, we do have our Player of the Week segment. So do you want to kick us off with yours?
No, you do it now. You can start.
Okay, I'll do it. My Player of the Week, I go local, I go Scandinavian, I go Jonas Wind. 2 goals. His third brace of the season for Wolfsburg against Eintracht Frankfurt. He's been involved in 8 of Wolfsburg's 9 goals this season. He is now third in the Torjägerkanone. He's beat his tally from last season in the Bundesliga, and no Wolfsburg player has started the season better than 6 goals in their 6 games. He has been the talisman for a Wolfsburg side who have started this season very solidly, and who I suspect will get a European spot this season as well. So a well-deserved recognition for Jonas Wind.
Good argument. I could go for Norwegian because I think Julian Ryerson, we have given him compliments. So he was one of the candidates. But my Player of the Week is I start again, Marcus. So my Player of the Week is Leroy Sané. And it's also one of those things when you're doing interviews that I do pitch side, you get a bit liking of guys. So when he was at Manchester City, he was always friendly. I always talked to him. So I got an instant liking of Leroy Sané. Remember, I'm so old that I played with his dad. So he played for Wattenscheid. And I just love the way that he plays football. I love his left foot. I love his elegance. I also love his style of kind of I don't care kind of style. Having said that, that is one of the reasons that a lot of have been criticizing him for, because he's got a bit of that Özil DNA. When he's not that great, when he's not the best form, then his body language kind of make him easy to criticize. But this season, he had 5 big chances. He has always scored on them. Against Leipzig, 1-1 against the goalkeeper. There was no doubt that he would score that. He got a great foot. He got a great free kick, corner foot. So Leroy Sané is my player of the week.
Yeah, I love Leroy Sané. Even when he's been struggling, when he's now in this form he's in, I find him so entertaining to watch. And the Sané, if you may, partnership as well is in full form for Bayern, which will be key if they are to chase not one but several titles this season. But Dad, thank you so much for this episode, for the analysis, for the insight, and then we will be back as always for next week.
Yes, we will, and it's also an interesting week because so many German teams are involved in the European Cups. But Indeed. When you listen to this, we didn't know that this is recorded on Monday afternoon. We wish the German teams all the best in the Champions League. The big one for me is Leipzig against Manchester City on Wednesday. Remember, Erling Haaland scored 5 last time he played them, and he was taken off. I swear to God, that guy could have scored 7 or 8 goals in that game. So again, great week. On Thursday, I am doing Molde from my home region, and they're playing Leverkusen. So I'm doing the pitch side interviews there. So I look forward to that game as well. But till next time, Markus, thanks a lot, and auf Wiedersehen.
Auf Wiedersehen.